front?
It's never good when you walk into a room and everybody gets quiet.
Just anticipation, Coach. That's all. So, Coach, you always go back and look at the film and get a better grasp. What did you see that you feel like wasn't working and can be improved upon for Game 6?
Well, there was obvious breakdowns, but that's every game. The second quarter, there were a few vanilla possessions on offense that put us in a bind. But I also saw a lot of resilience and a no-quit attitude, even in those moments, for us to be able to cut it to 1 point. That was the thing that stuck out to me and gives our staff and team a lot of confidence as we go into this Game 6.
Quick follow, Coach. They've been running. They got like averaging 17 fast break points. Is that something that you feel like they're just executing, or how much of that is what you guys maybe aren't doing?
Both.
Okay.
It's certainly a point of focus as we go forward, for sure. It's not. Last year we were number one in that. This year, with the focus on trying to get more possessions from an offensive rebounding component, that probably lends itself to some of that. But when we watched the film, a lot of it was just communication. We were back, didn't communicate well. They forced the issue, and I think in the first half they got like 5 threes off of that environment. So some of us, but a lot of them.
Sam?
Monty, going into Game 5, you had that message with your guys that you put yourselves here, and you said, I mean that in a good way. That whole idea of making sure the spirits didn't dip. I mean, and then you drop a game that was incredibly emotional and tight, and now they're on the road. But you also know that if you guys do pull this off, everything flips.
Yeah.
How do you, is it a similar speech, the mental part of the game? How do you handle that going into Game 6?
I think our culture allows for that. From day one, when we got there, we said we weren't going to allow wins or losses to dictate the culture and the spirit of our gym. Now, when you lose in the playoffs, there's a natural tendency to allow it to dip a little bit because we're all human. But I think we have a level of bounce back on our team in the organization that allows for us to get the spirit back. And I saw it yesterday when we got on the plane. The guys had the same look in their eyes. When I came down this morning for meetings, guys were down there talking, having breakfast. It was pretty cool to watch. And so those kinds of losses are hard. But if you're going to, do anything big, you have to overcome those kinds of hards. I don't know of any team that's won a championship that's just kind of strolled into it, and so our guys, we've talked about that, the deep playoff hurts that happen and the ability to bounce back from that.
Vince in the back.
Kind of almost as a follow-up on that, the Bucks have gone through heartbreaks the past couple of years, and you guys are sort of going through this for the first time. How do you manage sort of learning on the fly for some of your guys outside of like Chris and Jay, and make sure that this process can be sped up a little bit as opposed to this being the playoff heartbreak?
Yeah. We don't have that level of experience, but we have experience nonetheless. And, we don't have guys who've been in these situations, but we have guys who have played on big stages before, and they understand, probably more than people think, because in college it was one game and you're out. Mikhail's been in that situation at Villanova. So I think the combination of that and the grit and the want to win serves us well. It's not the best situation, and we all know that, but we're in the finals. This is not the beginning of the season where you lose 3 or 4 in a row. We're in the finals. We got here for a reason, and our guys can glean confidence from that.
Just as a quick follow, have you seen the inexperience a little bit at times in this series where maybe an offensive rebound or a stretch, you're like, man, if we were a little more mature, that type of, have you seen that in a moment?
I wouldn't label it that way. They're just breakdowns that happen in the game. It'd be really like cruel of me to look at it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like something happens, like, oh, that's inexperience. Like, no, it's just breakdowns that happen over the course of a game, especially when our guys know what we want to do. Breakdowns just happen.
Eric, right here.
Hey, Monty. During the second round, I remember PJ explaining to me that like Kevin Durant was going for 40, 45, and he explained to me that he doesn't get mad when KD scores. He gets mad when the Bucks overhelp and they let everyone else get involved. They're doing something similar to Devin in that they're going to let him work one-on-one. They're going to let him try to score, but they're going to try to shut everybody else up. How do you try to bring that team concept back together?
Hey, I'm not, you think I'm going to tell you like right now? Like,
right. But I guess just Devin's
that would
mindset.
be
Like, how do you try to, there's the idea that like, I am getting buckets.
No, your point is well taken. I think the one thing that we've had a good balance of the kind of play that Devin brings, but we've also had the ball movement that can break you down. And we've talked about that, and we saw it in the fourth quarter where the ball was whipping around the gym, and that's basically how we cut it. And so the balance of that, but at the same time, I do not want to get in the way of the gift that our one-on-one players have, because that's why we're here. We wouldn't be in this position if Chris and Devin couldn't create their own shots. That's a fact. We also have to have that balance of them doing that, but then creating it for other people. And the way you do that, in my opinion, is you get stops. That way the creation is in transition. And then when we need those guys to go get a bucket, they go get it. Like Milwaukee's no different. I mean, Giannis can dribble the ball 5, 6, 7 times and go get his own shot. Chris does the same. And so we're trying to probably do the same thing to them.
Thank you.
No problem.
Gina?
To stay on the topic of Book, just you mentioned, of course, throughout the playoffs that he's not afraid of the moment. That's been shown over and over again. But what else do you feel like you've learned about him just going through this playoff run and getting to this point?
Sheesh. I think the level of trust he has in me is different than when I first got here. Not that he didn't trust me, he just had no reason to. Now, our communication in timeouts, our communication on the floor, the look when I call him during the game in his eye, it's different. And I think our relationship has grown because, I mean, you look at the time since I've been in Phoenix, we've been through a lot together, bubble, COVID, a lot of stuff. I feel like we had like 4 or 5 seasons already, and he and I have been in lockstep the whole time. So I think the trust between us is a lot, I won't say better, it's just at a different place.
On a different note, to kind of go back to one of your first answer, just that it's easy to forget with how the game ended on the other night that you guys did overcome. You came back from a 10-point deficit to have a chance to with the ball to take the lead. Just what do you feel like unlocked during that little spurt to kind of get you back in the game? Are there things that you feel like you can carry over now, or things that you saw that you're like, oh, this can help us moving forward? Or just kind of how did you sort of decipher that stretch?
Yeah, I mean, I've watched it like I don't know how many times. I'd love to tell you like I don't know. Just being straight, like you could look and say, okay, we played hard, we moved the ball, we got stops, they missed free throws. We can like probably all of those things, but for me to sit here and try to come up with an answer to fill I have no idea. I just know that that's what happened in that. But to say it's like one thing, I don't think you can. There was a lot of things that happened in that. It was a little over 3 minutes, and we just stayed the course, pounded the rock, and it started to go our way a little bit.
Dave, last question in the back.
Monty, when you guys first came to Milwaukee for Game 3, you said, we got to play like the desperate team.
Mm-hmm.
Now you are the desperate team. You're trailing in the series, and it's the first time you trail in the series since the first round. I know Gina asked you about that a couple weeks ago, about that being a turning point for this run. You're 2-1 down the Lakers, then you reel off 9 playoff games in a row. What have you seen from your team when they actually have been desperate?
I don't think it's been anything different. I just think it's been more. You know what I'm saying? Like the focus, the determination, more questions about, hey, this situation, this environment, this concept. There's just been more. Our guys have always wanted it. But I think when you're in these moments like this is different. This is different than the first time against the Lakers where it was just 2-1. This is it. And I think we're just going to see more like we have throughout the playoffs.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.